Today we have the lovely Stacey Chillemi with us today of the Complete Herbal Guide. How are you, Stacey? Thanks for joining us.
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to hear about this company. So please just kind of tell us about maybe a snapshot journey of how you got to having the Complete Herbal Guide.
Okay, well, it started a long time ago. Basically, at the age of 5, I developed epilepsy. I had encephalitis. It had traveled to my brain, and it caused me to have epilepsy. I was in the hospital for a while. I was in a coma, and when I came out, they thought I was going to be either paraplegic or I was going to have brain damage.
Mm.
And I came out, and the first thing I asked for was McDonald's French fries. And
Mm.
I it was a challenge, growing up with this disorder and living life, with a lot of challenges. It was definitely like a roller coaster ride.
Mm.
And when I got into college, it was a lot of times stress can bring on seizures, and my seizures still weren't completely controlled at that moment.
Okay.
So during college, the stress of studying, late night studying, and all the other stuff that comes along with school, it was really hard. And I started having a lot of seizures. So what I did was I wrote an article and I sent it into the Epilepsy Foundation, and they have a magazine. And I asked other people, well, how do you cope with this disorder? And I received hundreds of letters from all over the United States and
Wow.
Canada, from people just sharing their stories and sharing how they deal with it and how they cope with it. And it was really inspiring. And I kept a lot of those letters, and later on I wrote a book called Epilepsy, You're Not Alone, because those letters really, gave me inspiration, and really gave me a lot of great advice, and I incorporated it into my own life. And it really helped me along my journey. And then I started to work in the city, and I was working for a really big corporation. And one day I had a seizure and I fell to the ground. And I ended up, there was a producer, and he like just walked over me and kept walking. And, 30 minutes later, I was, an associate came over and said, "I'm sorry, but you don't fill this position." And I was released from my job, because of
Wow.
that. So I was really distressed about it, but it wasn't going to let me get me down.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up, the Epilepsy Foundation asked me to go to Washington with them. I spoke in front of Congress, and I did a lot of things to try to advocate for epilepsy and for the people who have this disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I met a herbalist, and this herbalist, I started doing a lot of writing and research for him. And it was really interesting. It was about how to heal your body naturally. This is what he was really into, is, taking the things from outside, the alternative medicines, and applying it to your body and healing your body. And I started doing a lot of this stuff while I was writing and researching. I was like, wow, some of this stuff might actually help me. And, I went from having like 9 seizures a month to 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2. And my seizures, became controlled, and I was able to actually live, a more normal, let's say, quote unquote, life where, so I applied a lot of that stuff, and that stuff was so inspiring that I thought, people besides me, besides people with epilepsy, if, these things could really help them. So I started out a little blog. I'm Blogger. I don't know if you remember Blogger, but, I started out, doing a little blog, and it went from 400 people, and then it grew to 10,000. Then I created a website. I was working with this guy who designed websites. He's like, I can make you a really nice website with all this information you have. And I created a website, and it grew to, having, hundreds of thousands of people come onto my website. So, and over the course of the years, I wrote books. I wrote over 20 books, and that's how the brand started, and I started helping people, doing a lot of speaking events, teaching a lot of people from the materials in my book. And constantly writing new and fresh content to help people learn how they can heal their bodies, or how they can improve their life mentally and physically and spiritually through natural resources.
Wow, what a journey. So much that you do. And I'm just so appreciative that like you were able to go through that and then of course give back to others who go through similar things. And it's always things like that where we don't realize that there's a lot of people going through similar situations and we kind of sometimes miss that community. So amazing that you created that community for yourself and for others. And so I'm curious, of all the elements that you, like you said, you cover, you've written books, you've done speaking, you've done all these things. What is your favorite aspect of it, would you say, in your business and what you do?
I think at this point in the game, I really enjoy speaking. You know, like when
Mm-hmm.
I spoke in front of audiences, a lot of times people will come up to me and either they'll be in tears or they're hugging me and they're telling me that the things I say and the advice I give really, really inspired them and really wanted to make them improve. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you do something in life, any type of company or brand, when you do things and you improve somebody's life or you help somebody, it's a great achievement. I think one of the biggest achievements in life is being able to help others. I remember one time when I wrote my book, Epilepsy, You're Not Alone. That book, I had gotten a letter in the email, and this woman said she was on the verge of committing suicide because she lost her job, she lost everything, she lost her driver's license, she couldn't do anything. And then she read my book and she started applying some of the things that I was teaching in my book, and it changed her life. So when I read that, it was just so inspiring, and it really made me realize that I was on the right path, that I was on the right journey. And I think speaking events and speaking to others is a great thing. I just like helping people overall, but I really do enjoy getting in front of people and speaking to people and communicating with others in person.
Absolutely. And so, how is it kind of explaining and working with these people? And you said speaking, realizing like a lot of these solutions, it sounds like, is really within us. It's just feeding the right things, like you said, spirituality, even foods and everything. How is it getting people to understand it's not all these fancy, doctors and medicines and all these things? It can be a more natural way to do so.
People, a lot of times in our society, we're so impatient. We always want change right away. It's like we don't have the patience to change, but it takes time,
Hmm.
and the first thing we have to realize is we have to, go to the root of the problem, or the just, because there's always a reason why we're feeling the way we feel, or, and what we're going through in life,
Hmm.
and figuring out what is the basis, what is the root causing these problems, and then figuring out a solution for it.
Hmm.
And it takes time, and it's a day by day process, but little by little you have to kind of realize first that you have to accept what's going on in yourself, and realize and learn to love yourself, and then you start figuring out, what can I do, to make changes in my life that will solve these problems, and get me in life, where I want to be.
And so, what would you say is your favorite personal, remedy and or maybe practice or habit to just kind of keep yourself, not just with the epilepsy, but just in general, keeping yourself spiritually sound and kind of in that high performance flow?
I love meditation and I love yoga, and I've applied that to my life. And people don't realize, but you don't have to be so flexible to be able to do yoga. People think of yoga and that they're thinking these
Leg
people.
behind the head and everything.
Yeah. I think if you could take 15 or 10 minutes out of your day when you wake up, do a little meditation and maybe do a little yoga, sometime in during the day where you have some, free time, whether it's at night before you go to bed or in the morning, just like we
Mhm.
spoke, things like that could really help you, it could help you mentally and it could help you physically. And, and creating a healthy lifestyle. And, people don't realize, but a lot of times the foods we put in our body play a big, are a big cause in how we feel, and, if you want to feel energetic, well, you have to eat the right foods and you have to do
Mhm.
the right things. And a little
Mhm.
exercise, is also helpful too.
Yeah, it's all a flow. Like I said, it could just be a little bit. It doesn't have to be this big yoga
Yeah.
guru. It can just be a little by
Just
little.
a little bit. Yeah, you don't need a lot. If just change and making little changes in your life could actually do a lot for you. People don't realize that.
Absolutely. So you have your website, thecompleteherbalguide.com, and you also
Mhm.
have Chillemi.com. So what are kind of the differences of those two, and what can our listeners expect if they visit those websites?
Well, when you go into the completeherbalguide.com, that website, has like over 5,000 articles on it, and it's
Mhm.
on every topic you can imagine, and it teaches you, different ways to help yourself and to help your body and to help your mind and so forth. And staceychillemi.com is basically, it's a little bit more about me and about my journey, and about what I can, what I different guides and different things that I do that to
Mhm.
help myself, and and my journey in life, and people kind of can follow me and follow what I'm doing. And if they have any questions, it's more, a personal website where they can come in and they can, ask me questions and ask me about, things that they, are curious about.
Mhm. So it's been a whole journey, like you've mentioned. Now the websites and everything. Like now, your favorite part in this time in the game is speaking. Where do you see your business and just yourself going now in the next 3 to 5 years? What do you envision in the future?
Well, like I said, my vision right now is I want to do more speaking events.
Hmm.
I have my books. I have over 20 books on the in the market. I have my websites, and I'm going to continue doing the websites. And I have but I really would like to, kind of work on different, ways to help people in a more personal, one-on-one or in a group way.
Okay, so if we have any listeners who need speakers and everything, let's kind of connect those opportunities here. What's the best way to get in contact with you to try and do so?
People can find me on the Stacey Chillemi.com website. They can, dot me out a question, or, I even have, it's a really easy email. It's staceychillemi@staceychillemi.com. So, if they want to, personally email me, they could email me there, and I'll be happy to, speak with them.
Wonderful listeners, definitely go book that, ask questions. Thank you so much, Stacey Chillemi, for creating this community and sharing all of that with us today. And looking forward to hearing more speaking events from you. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.